Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachari Yamuna Tera Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Banachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Vrajajana Yamuna Tera Banachari Yamuna Tera Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Prabhupada Stotra Tasya Srimad Bhagavad Savai Charanarvind Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki Namacharya Srila Thakur ki Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bol All Gurishta Sambal Devotees Hare Krishna Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya 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 Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, The Appearance of Sri Narada. Text 12. Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye Ya uttama sloka parayana jana Ya uttama sloka parayana jana Jivanti natmarthamasau parasrayam Jivanti natmarthamasau parasrayam Mumucha nirvedya kutaha kalevaram Mumucha nirvedya kutaha kalevaram Shivaya lokasya bhavaya bhutaye Shivaya lokasya Yauttamashlokaparayana jana Jivanti natmartamasau parasrayam Mumu cha nirvedya kuta kalevaram Shivaya welfare Lokasya of all living beings Bhavaya for flourishing Bhutaye Bhutaye for economic development Ye one who is Uttama Sloka Parayana devoted to the cause of Supreme Personality of Godhead Janaha men Jivanti to live Na but not Atmartham selfish interest Asao that Parasrayam shelter for others Mumocha give up Nirvidya being freed from all attachment Kutaha for what reason Kalevaram mortal body Those who are devoted to the cause of Personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. They do not live for any selfish interest. So even though the Emperor Parīkṣit was free from all attachment to the worldly possessions, how could he give up his mortal body which was shelter for others? Purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Maharaj Parikshit was an ideal king and a householder because he was a devotee of Krishna. A devotee of Lord automatically has all good qualifications. The emperor was a typical example of this. Personally, he had no attachment for all the worldly opulences in his possession. But since he was king of for the all-round welfare of his citizens, he was always busy in welfare work and of the public, not only for this life but also for the next. He would not allow slaughterhouses or killing of cows. He was not a foolish and partial administrator who would arrange for the protection of one living being and allow another to be killed. Because he was a devotee of the Lord, he knew perfectly well how to conduct his administration for everyone's happiness, man, animal, plants, and all living creatures. He was not selfishly interested. Selfishness is either self-centered or self-extended. He was neither. His interest was to please Krishna, Personality of Godhead. The king is the representative of Supreme Lord, and therefore the king's interest must be identical with that of the Supreme Lord. Supreme Lord wants all living beings to be obedient to him and thereby become happy. Therefore, the king's interest is to guide all subjects back to Godhead. Hence, the activities of citizens should be coordinated that they can at the end go back home, back to Godhead. Under the administration of the representative king, the kingdom is full of opulence. At that time, human beings did not eat animals. There are ample food, grains and milk, fruit and vegetables, so that human beings as well as animals can eat sumptuously to their heart's content. If all living beings are satisfied and with food and shelter and obey the prescribed rule, there cannot be any disturbance between one living being and another. Emperor Maharaj Parikshit was a worthy king, and therefore all were happy during his reign. Nama Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharane Nirveshasa Sunyavadi Pasyati Desatarane. My dear devotees, please repeat. Those who are devoted to the cause of Personality of Godhead live only for the welfare, development and happiness of others. They do not live for
They do not live for
any selfish interest.
any selfish interest.
So even though
So even though
the Emperor Parikshit
the Emperor Parikshit
was free from all attachment to worldly possessions,
was free from attachment to worldly,
how could he give up his mortal body,
how could he give up his mortal body,
which was shelter for others?
which was shelter for others?
Hare Krishna. Sorry. When Prabhupada was a shelter for all his disciples, hardly Prabhupada has given 10 years of his time to his disciples, 1966 to 1977. So that's exactly 11 years or 12 years. His disciples would have, they prayed to Krishna. In fact, they said, please cure our spiritual master because he has lot of service to do in this material world for the deliverance of the fallen soul. And we know the history now that Srila Prabhupada didn't take food or water for months and left his body in a very dignified way. I don't know how in this world we never think that we will give up our body. And giving up a body is such a Herculean task. Extremely Herculean task, giving up the body. And of course, you may give up the body like animals and cats. That everybody is doing. But giving up the body fully in Krishna conscious, that is something very, very extraordinary, and everybody can do it if they practice the tenets of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada was shelter to so many. Not only for his 10,000 disciples, he was shelter for the whole world. But a pure devotee knows when Krishna wants him to be back. He is not attached to anything of this world. And similar way, Maharaj Parikshit was not attached to his kingdom, although he was giving full administration to his subjects in Krishna consciousness. But when they saw, when Maharaj Parikshit realized that this is how Krishna wants me to give up my body, so be it. And the Naimisaranya sages were very scholarly, powerful, austere, mystic. They possess, all of them literally possess high degree of what I was saying.
The mystics had high degree. The Naimisaranya.
Yeah, they had a high degree of mystic potency and everything. And they are not able to digest or follow why Maharaj Parikshit who was the ultimate shelter of everyone in this material world, agreed to give up his body. How many of us we can say, if Krishna says, give up your body, you are ready to give up your body? We can do a lip service, but we are not ready to give up our body. I remember 1982, we had one Gandhian, Vinoba Bhave. He did some first unto death or related to cow protection or something. I'm forgetting. And because he fasted and he died actually. So those days, we were condemning this fellow is killing himself. What he is going to teach people? But at least forget about Krishna consciousness. He gave up his body for a higher cause. At least that should be appreciated. We are so selfish that we maintain this body only for sinful actions, sense gratification. Body we will give one day. In this corona pandemic, so many people have given up their body. So, it's not that giving up body is interesting. What is interesting is that those who recognize this and then give up their body in a unique way. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, yesterday I was asking this question. I gave the example of Satyajit, right? Satyajit. How he accused Krishna and finally that very pastime made Krishna and Satyabhama to get married. So anything that may look or seemingly they may appear to be mundane, but as long as they are uniting Krishna and Radha, Krishna and his internal potency, we must recognize that is the part of the Lila of internal potency of Krishna. Similarly, I'll tell another, because you people were saying yesterday about Devaki. Yes, Devaki, he wanted to conceive Krishna as her son, and but his 6 sons were brutally killed, one after another, in front of her. So it was very, very tough situation for Devaki and Vasudeva to go through. And Devaki as a mother to tolerate, to see these 6 people, 6 of her sons, when they were just newborn baby, were killed cruelly by Kamsa. And there is an argument between Karna and Krishna that Karna is arguing with Krishna that, so much of injustice has been done to me. So if I side with Duryodhana, what's what? Big deal. Because when everybody rejected me, even if I was born Kshatriya, Parasuram ditched me. Everybody said I am Sutaputra. I am being castigated in every forum possible. तो कहाँ से आ रहे?
फूल
फूल लेने के लिए। कितना फूल लेके आए? डाली रह गया। Okay. So, what I was saying?
Karna cited that so much injustice. Karna was
Karna was saying so much of injustice have been done to me. So, if I, those Duryodhana supported me at my difficult period, so it is my duty to support him, to stand by him. This is a very, very fallacious logical argument. So Pandavas also can say, so much of injustice was done to us, yes or no? But did they violate Dharma? They didn't violate Dharma. Oh, so much injustice happened, so much things happened to me. So better for me to give up Krishna consciousness. So Karna argued like a stupid idiot. But Pandavas didn't argue. They accepted. They accepted all tortuous situation in their stride and continued devotional service to Krishna. Vipadahata santo sasvat tatra tatra jagat guru. Yatsat what is that? Bhavato yatsat darshanaha apunar bhava darshanaha. Sa vipadaha santu ta sasvat. Kunti is praying late. Calamities keep coming because only in the situation of calamity we are forced to remember you, your lotus feet. And as soon as you are there in our life, because of that remembrance, apunar bhavadarsanam, we will not see this world again. So anybody who is thinking that I want to see this world in a very nice way, in this life I've suffered so much. Radhakant Das has built this campus by sweating my blood. I am so great. I am not being allowed to breathe nicely, peacefully. Radhakant Das, what a great dedicated soul. But still Krishna is not very fair to me. Nobody is fair to me. So like that, everybody has their own baggage of complaint against Krishna. अब देखो कृष्ण के अगेंस्ट में अगर कंप्लेन देखा जाए, पर्टिकुलरली सबसे ज्यादा कंप्लेन तो डिवोटीज लोग करते हैं, सबसे ज्यादा कंप्लेन डिवोटी लोग करते हैं, and still Krishna doesn't give up his devotee. Because this is the context of Devaki yesterday, some people said, and I gave the example of Satrajit. So I'm thinking that I should speak about what happened actually. You see that there was one solar eclipse in which the entire world descended in Kurukshetra. The Dwarka Vasis headed by Krishna Balram came from there. Hastinapur Vasis headed by Bhishma Drona, they also came there. Braj Vasis headed by Nanda and Yashoda, they also went there. So like that, there's a huge gathering, and in that gathering, because Krishna is coming, so the sages all over the world, including Narada, they also descended. Ab dekho, when you meet a sadhu, normally you ask him question about the absolute truth. And Vasudeva did the same thing. And Naraji was there. And Naraji was thinking, this fellow is asking what is absolute truth. He is specially blessed to have absolute truth as his son, and still has asking what is absolute truth. Okay. So anyway, Narada was any of would feel embarrassed, but any of the sages would again give him the instruction and glorify him that you are actually the father to the same person whom we are trying to catch by our severe meditation, severe tapasya, severe bhajan, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And we are not able to find Lord with us. But you see that same Lord is so gracious to you, has appeared as your son. And those episodes are gone in Kurukshetra. There are so many pastimes in Kurukshetra happened during this time, but I am not going in detail of that. Suffice it to say that when they all returned to Dwarka. Everybody returned to their own places, and everybody forgot what happened in Kurukshetra. But Vasudev didn't forget his interaction with the sages. The way they explained Krishna concept of infinity, Krishna concept of absolute truth, they were, Maharaj Vasudev, the king, was completely enlightened. But anyhow, he came back. He's sitting in his palace in the armchair, and Krishna Balaram. Whenever Krishna Balaram would enter to the city, first thing they would do is they would offer their obeisances to Vasudeva and Devaki, and then the elderly brahmanas and so forth. So Vasudev when they came to take blessings of Krishna, so Balaram and Krishna, they offered obeisances to Vasudeva, and Vasudeva remembered what he has been recently taught. And Vasudeva, instead of giving blessings to Krishna and Balaram, what did they do? What did he do? He started narrating like a seeker of truth. He started saying, you are the moon, sun sign, you are the moon sign. Right? You are the earth, water, air, fire, ether. You are everywhere, in every aspect of your creation. And when Vasudeva started offering those prayers to Krishna and Balaram as God, as the absolute truth, Devaki reached there. And Devaki could not digest her internal feeling because she has lost those 6 sons and she is always meditating on them. I am a woman, I had such a bad misfortune that I have to when Devaki remembered his 6 sons, the way they were killed brutally, and as a mother, she thought that Krishna is absolute truth. Vasudeva is properly glorifying. It must be correct because my husband is telling me the absolute truth means he should be able to do certain things that others cannot do. So immediately mother Vasudeva, अब देखो कितनी साल हो गया, but Devaki is not able to forget the 6th killing of her sons by Kamsa. Okay, she said, बच्चे तुम तो अपना गुरुजी का सब काम पूरा कर दिया. You brought back the dead son of your spiritual master, Sandipani Muni, back to life. If you can do that, you can certainly bring my sons. So as soon as Devaki made this request, in a very nice opportune moment, because the moment was Vasudeva is glorifying Krishna as the absolute truth. So obviously, Devaki could not resist her temptation and said, please take. Krishna Balaram immediately went to Sutala planet and told Bali Maharaj why they have come. Bali Maharaj brought all 6 sons back to him, back to Krishna. Then, when those children were brought in front of Vasudeva Devaki, Devaki felt so much of motherly affection for those kids. The breast came out, breast milk came out automatically, and after drinking the breast milk of Devaki, those people, the 6 people who have been, tortured by Kamsa, by being killed at the very small age, they they were getting purified by the same breast milk that was drunk by Krishna and Balaram. So obviously, they got back their original body, heavenly body, and went back to heaven immediately. So now let us analyze this incident. Just like yesterday I told you, Satrajit accusing Krishna, ultimately that leading him to give his daughter as a daughter in marriage to Krishna. That must be all spiritual, because anything that is connected to Krishna and pleasure of Krishna must be spiritual. Although most of us, we will take this the mundane affair, right? Mundane affair. It's not mundane affair, because no mundane affair can cause Krishna to manifest his real opulence. So, dear devotees, even Devaki, wanting her dead children to be back, is a pure devotional service, because Krishna Balaram in that way felt indebted to Mother Devaki, that she has given birth to them. And obviously, Krishna wants to repay. Krishna would never like to have debt. What is that? 3 things that, you should never have a friendship with a person who has 3 things. One is he's debt-ridden. 3 things I'm forgetting. So anyhow, so dear devotees, what you are hearing today is that anything that pleases Krishna ultimately must be very good. And you may feel, oh, Devaki calling out for her 6 sons back to life is a mundane thing. It is not a mundane thing. I will explain that after the interval. 9:20 is now and 9:15. So I will have 15 minutes more after the break. But please meditate on these pastimes. You must recognize anything that is done by pure devotees of Krishna must be according to principle of Krishna consciousness or Krishna's desire. And this is a very difficult, tough subject matter to crack. I will try to deal with this subject matter after 2 minutes break. So all of you can put your questions in the chat box window. As soon as I come back after 2 minutes, I'm going to take some of your questions, and then I will elaborate why these Okay, we will discuss after the break. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tatsarvam na samachaksho prushta yadiha kinchana manne tvam visaye vacham snatam anyatra chandasat. We know that you are expert in the meaning of all subjects except some portion of the Vedas. Thus you can clearly explain the answers to all the questions you have just put to you. The difference between Vedas and Puranas is like that between Brahmanas and Parivrajaka's. Brahmanas are meant to administer some fruitive sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. But the Parivrajaka, the learned preachers, are meant to disseminate transcendental knowledge to one and all. As such, Paribradakacharya are not always expert in pronouncing the Vedic mantras, which are practiced systematically by accent and meter by the Brahmanas who are meant for administrative Vedic rites. Yet it should not be considered the Brahmanas are more important than itinerant preachers. They are one and the different simultaneously because they are meant for the same end in different ways. There is no difference also between the Vedic mantras and what is explained in Puranas and Itihasa. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, it is mentioned in Madhyandina Shruti that all the Vedas, namely Sam, Athar, Rig, Yajur, Purana, Itihasa, Upanishad, etc., are emanation from the breathing of the Supreme Being. The only difference is that Vedic mantras are mostly begun with Pranava, Ankara, and it requires some training to practice the metric pronunciation of Vedic mantras. But that does not mean that Srimad Bhagavatam is of less importance than the Vedic mantras. On the contrary, it is ripened fruit of all the Vedas as stated before. Besides that, the most perfected, liberated soul, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, is observed in the study of Bhagavatam, although he is already self-realized. Srila Sutta Goswami is following his footsteps, and therefore his position is not the least less important because he was not expert in chanting Vedic mantras with the metric pronunciation, which depends more on practice than actual realization. Realization is more important than parrot-like chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, there are many beautiful questions that was posed by Saunaka and his party, his group, exalted group of 88,000 sages. And the questions were like that: when and how Bhagavatam descended? Why did Vasudev compile this Bhagavatam? Why did Sukadeva Goswami, who is so pure, has to invest his energies to study or undergo the study of this great literature, Bhagavatam? And why Maharaj Parikshit sacrificed his life? What is the purpose? He was a shelter to so many. Why did he give up his mortal body? So like that, there are many questions they asked, and we will see that Sutta Goswami is going to answer these questions one after another. Because questions make us to remain alert. Because some questions, when it is there within us, if you don't get clarified, so doubt should remain, persist, and we will not be able to make progress further. Questions must be, questions are as important as their answers. But questions pass, because even if many times I have seen, I speak so many things, but most of you don't actually digest or internalize, because you have never asked such questions. Those who are hearing me for so many years now, their only interest is when prasadam. अरे भागवतम 9:30 हो गया, क्या चल रहा है, प्रसादम कहाँ है, चूहा काट रहा है पेट में, प्रसादम कहाँ है, प्रसादम. So if I start glorifying prasadam, Vidasri Bhagavat Prasado Sadharna Truptan Harivakta Sangha Krutaiva Truptim Bhajata Sadaiva Vande Guru Sri Charanarvindam. So 4 kinds of Bhagavat Prasad. What are the 4 kinds? One is swallowed, one is chewed, one is licked, and the other is drank. Okay? You lick varieties of chutney, achar, you lick it. Right? You chew dal, sabji, chawal, you chew. and there is something you swallow. What you swallow? Mango. Mango you would swallow. What else? Rasgulla you would swallow. What is that you swallow? And nice drink. And banana shake, milk shake. Kada. So varieties of, so all normally when you offer to Krishna, we have to make sure these 4 items, categories item must be there. Chutney must be there, pakora must be there, a drink must be there, some sweet must be there. Otherwise, you are keeping plate of course, it is all depending on your ability. But most of you have the proper ability to offer various food stuff. But, those who are students, they can simply be happy offering Gangajal with tulsi plus some fruits. So I brought in the topic about prasadam because that's the only question Anil Krishna Yadav has. Anil Krishna Yadav is almost like more than 2 years or 1.5 years.
So,
1.5 years. And in 1.5 years, I have not seen Anil Krishna Yadav asking a single question. Did you ever ask any question? Anil Krishna Yadav never asked question. But just now I talked about prasadam. You see that, his face became very bright, eyes became very big, right? So everything became prasadam. Wow. But let me tell you, meditating on Krishna prasadam is much better practice than the practice of Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga, which is very tortuous to say the least. But meditating on Krishna prasadam is certainly much higher than so-called Jnana Yoga and Dhyana Yoga. Yes. So what? Let me summarize what we talked today. We talked today is that why did Maharaj Parikshit, who was sheltered to so many people, agreed to give up his mortal body? I started with the example of Srila Prabhupada, his disciple. Prabhupada has more than 10,000 disciples, and they all wanted Prabhupada to stay back because hardly 10 years, nothing. And even after 20, 30 years, also people fall down. 10 years is nothing. So little. But still, Prabhupada didn't budge to the demand of his disciples and left this world. Because Krishna conscious movement is the sole prerogative of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sometime we may be used as a pawn, or a horse, or a camel, or an elephant. Okay. But it's up to Krishna how he uses, and then he would say, okay, your job is over, come back. You can never say, oh, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I am going to die. This is nonsense. We have to completely surrender to the will of Krishna, and this is what the answer would be there later when he would give the answer. And we made a point that when Krishna performs his Lila, even his parents, particularly Vasudeva, is bewildered. So Vasudeva is a pure soul, otherwise how he will become father to Krishna? But by asking this question, who is the absolute truth? And getting the answer that Krishna is the absolute truth, Vasudeva also is playing a role of teaching everyone. Okay. And then when we saw Krishna and Balaram, they returned from Kurukshetra, and they offered obeisances to Vasudeva. Vasudeva started speaking the ontological nature of Krishna is absolute truth. How Krishna all pervades his creation. And then we saw that how Devaki would request Krishna to bring her all sons. So through this pastime, Krishna, because of Krishna, only these 6 people were killed, yes or no? Because the 8th, why didn't the Akashvani say the first Garbha would be Krishna? He didn't say that. Akashvani didn't say, he could have told first Garbha to be Krishna. Why 8th Garbha? Or at least 2nd Garbha to be Krishna. First Garbha Balaram, 2nd Garbha Krishna. He didn't say that. 8th Garbha. So Krishna also fulfilled. Okay, I was responsible for the killing of these 6 innocent. Actually, if Krishna is responsible for anything, that must be all auspicious. Suppose I am killed, and if I say Krishna is responsible, so I should rejoice that Krishna wants me to be killed. It's the greatest source of rejoicement. Like when Sivananda Sen was taking the platoon, devotee platoon from Bengal to Jagannath Puri, at some point of time, Sivananda Sen was delayed because of the toll gate issue. And Nityananda Prabhu was very angry. There is no arrangement, no prasadam, nothing. I'm going to kick at the chest of Sivananda Sen. I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kick him. And he shouted like anything. And Sivananda Sen's wife is crying and crying and crying. मेरा हस्बैंड इतनी सेवा कर रहे हैं, सबका सेवा कर रहे हैं, सबकी देखभाल कर रहे हैं, और ये नित्यानंद प्रभु ऐसे हैं, और हमारा हस्बैंड को इतने गाली दे दिए, इतनी श्राप दे दिए, ये क्या हो रहा है, मुझे तो ये गलत कुछ नजर आ रहा है. So she started crying. And when finally Sivananda Sen came, and Nityananda Prabhu indeed kicked him at his chest. And later, when Sivananda met his wife said, you see, this Nityananda is not good. He's cursing you. He has cursed you. He has done, he spoke so bad about you. And Sivananda Sen, instead of, suppose somebody has spoken about ill of you, what you should feel? This fellow is speaking ill of me. Instead of Sivananda Sen saying, Nityananda Prabhu said that. His eyes became very big. He started dancing. Oh, he loves me so much. That's why he is speaking like this. पर आजकल तो किसको अगर कुछ कह दोगे ना भाई, अरे भैया हो गया है. This Lila Purushottam Das, first class idiot. I, Ravi Prakash Nitai Chand. He doesn't know who am I. मुझे गाली दे रहा है. जमाना बदल गया. जमाना बदल गया. So to end the whole story is that why did I come to this?
God wants to give me then.
No, no, why did I come to this point? Lord, please.
6 senses were filled.
Yeah, Krishna fulfilled his responsibility because Krishna was cause for this. If some people would argue Krishna was cause for the killing of his 6 own brothers, so through this pastime, Krishna is fulfilling. Okay, I bring them back to Godhead. I bring back to life, and doing that, Krishna fulfilled. Why Krishna does certain things, you can never comprehend. But there will be some reason, external reason, internal reason. Everything would be there. And we should feel very happy whenever we get an opportunity to be chastised by Krishna and his representative. Because our mind is so degraded. I was hearing today, Prabhupada was giving the lecture on mind, dusta mind. Dusta, you understand dusta? Badmas, rascal. So Prabhupada is calling this mind is dusta, badmas. किसी को अगर भक्ति अगर कमी है, अगर तुम कुछ कह देते हो, किसको लग जाता है? माइंड को लग जाता है। फिर अटैक किसके ऊपर होता है? जो तुम्हारा शुभ चिंतक है उसके ऊपर अटैक हो जाता है। When we are so degraded that we don't realize why we are being chastised. Our false ego is so deep. So, okay, any question? Harshit Pandey, who is the first person in the world? Krishna. Who is the first person in the world is Krishna. When the universe was created, Mahavishnu expanded himself as a Garbhodakosai Vishnu, and he became the soul of this universe and entered into the universe. Filled this universe with 50% of water using his perspiration. And then from his navel portion sprouted a lotus, and the lotus top was the Satyaloka planet. And there Brahma was born asexually. So the first person in this world is Krishna. Tarun, this question was asked by Dhiraj in the morning reading session today. How the process of growth of Lord Krishna from childhood to youth to adult is different from a child growing in the material world from childhood. A child grows according to his genetic defect. A child grows, he goes through all kind of suffering. And when child grows, child is full of ignorance. In case of child grows, I have just now, I did what is meaning of growth? I had asked that quiz question, right? Is a transmigration of body. Obviously, Krishna is not going through transmigration of body. Krishna is full of knowledge, Satchitananda always. So, although he forgets his God while interacting with his devotees, but whenever it is necessary to kill a demon, he remembers his God. Bakasura, Krishna remembers his God. Aghasura, he remembers his God. But when it is having picnic, fun with the coward boys, coward friends, then he forgets that he is God. Sri Vallabha, Is there this pandemic also one of the acts of God? There may be higher purpose to realize that we all are involved in sinful activities, so Mother Nature is punishing us. Not an act of God directly, but certainly it is the laws of material nature enacted under the direction of Krishna. Okay. So this is the laws of nature, the COVID pandemic, because we human beings, we have, we saw in the purport, Prabhupada, what you are saying. Prabhupada was saying that Maharaj Parikshit was such an able administrator. He didn't kill one category of living entity to placate another category of living entity. Did he do? But our government is opening slaughterhouses, giving license for slaughterhouses. Means he wants some category of living entities to be killed. And Maharaj Parikshit was not in favor of all this. Okay. So the laws of nature is something that a king must realize. And if he follows the laws of nature, then, and he administers Krishna consciousness, that the society will become very, very healthy. So that is how a devotee should do. So this pandemic is a reaction by the nature. Prem Raj Kala, to increase our faith in Krishna consciousness, what is more important? External empirical evidence or our internal realization through sincere practice? No, neither of them. Krishna consciousness is reinforced by the words emanating from the lotus mouth of acharyas. Srila Prabhupada has told, give this life to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So if you accept that instructions, just like Prabhupada accepted the instruction of his spiritual master, if you have ever get any money, then print books. That is the instruction. Now also that instruction is, Prabhupada wants we to publish. So we are going to publish this Bhagavad Gita. Within 2-3 days, I am going to complete this. And we are going to publish this. We'll publish many, many books now. Many, many books. Jai Sri Sri Lakshmi Nrsimha Bhagwan ki, Srila Giriraj Krishna ki, Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Bo. Sanjay Sinha ji, as per yesterday night, during the Ajamila discussion, that anybody who dies due to accident, etc., but chants holy name is freed from entering hell. And the purport Prabhupada is saying that if one practices chanting, he can remember at last time. But without practice, if somehow or other chant at the time of accident, he is freed. My question is that how without practice one can remember further at the time of death of any normal person, whether it should be our duty to go there and chant holy name or say Gita, Bhagavatam, so that normal person, yes, I would like that all devotees, they should figure out who are all in deathbed, whether they are in hospital bed also. And we should invade all hospitals, make friendship with nurses and doctors, and chant Hare Krishna in the ears of all those who are about to die. We should take theka on behalf of Krishna. Yes, we must take the license and drop few drops of Ganga water in everybody's mouth who are in the deathbed. Tulsi leaves. These are social service we must do. They are transcendental social service. And this is what we are going to do also in Jharkhand. Every village in Jharkhand will make a Kirtan Mandali. And we will have, emissaries everywhere who will do this kind of service. Okay? Speaking Krishna to everyone. That is the ultimate service. So thank you for reiterating that, because it is not possible for everyone. Maybe it was possible for Ajamila, but it is not possible for everyone to remember Krishna at the time of death. So hence devotees should figure out who are in the deathbed and go out. I remember there was a parabola. What is that? Not a parabola, but some this Christian, just like gospel, Christian gospel. That is in form of poem. We had a poem in our school days. I think 7th standard English book. This parabola was there. So it's about a priest. He's very tired. He's so tired. From morning to evening, he's attending, because this world is full of death. So for mass activity, speaking the words of the Lord in everybody's ear, and he is busy. And he has come back. He is dozing off on the chair, and somebody informed him that, "Sir, please come. Here is another person is about to die." And then he's saying, "I'm coming." But he's so tired, he dozed off. And then when he gets up, he realizes, "Oh, I was supposed to go." And then when he goes, finally, he feels so he was feeling so dejected. He's feeling very dejected that he has not gone in time. Maybe the person is already dead or so. And then when he reaches there, the family member greets him, "Father, why did you come again? You came and you did everything. We are so grateful to you." And the fellow is saying, "What did you do?" Everything he's explaining. And father has done not any one of them. And then finally father comes up, he realizes and he offers his gratitude to God. So here, the whole thing is that the God actually came as the father and did everything, right? And we are supposed to do this as devotee if we participate in people are anyway ignorant. We as devotee, if we give ourselves to the service of the people in their connection to Krishna, I think that is where our perfection would be there. And this is what we are supposed to do. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What is the process to surrender? Just follow what I say. Prabhuji, how to overcome spiritual anxiety? Spiritual anxiety we should not overcome. Spiritual anxiety is good. Without spiritual anxiety, life will become dull. Life will become full of sin. Spiritual anxiety, our life should be filled with spiritual anxieties. Just like just now I told you the story of that father. He was constantly in anxiety. Who will give him a call? Where to go? Whom to attend? So spiritual anxiety is always good. We should be always dedicated to the service of people in service to Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, everyone. We'll meet again in the evening in our chanting session. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.